time. Processed foods. That's the problem. It's got to be the processed foods. Got all these geniuses out there in the health scene. You get new people on the health scene all the time over the last few years, right? And they all say processed foods. Junk foods. That's the problem. Junk foods, right? You hear that too. Junk foods are the problem. Fast food, right? You see stuff out there, you see people talking about it, you hear about documentaries, you hear about everybody. Fast foods. That's the problem. That's the problem in America. It's the fast foods. It's the processed foods. It's the junk foods. That's the processed foods and the junk foods and the fast foods. That's the problem all around the world, right? You hear about that, right? And then you hear people say, well, that's the whole problem for obesity, right? And that's the big problem. It's obesity. But what about all of the neurological problems? Crippling anxiety, depression, OCD, depersonalization, fatigue, body pain, tingles and numbness, vertigo, brain fog, migraines, back problems, neck problems, leg problems, feet problems, muscle weakness, you name it. What about all the neurological problems in a 20-year-old? A 20-year-old. What about all the neurological problems and autoimmune diagnoses in a 15-year-old? What about all the neurological problems in a 21-year-old? Is it really years and years of fast foods when they're not 50 years old? Is it really the fast foods and the processed foods and the fried foods and the greasy foods and the junk foods? Is it really that's creating that? So let's get a few things straight. Junk food, fast food, processed food, yeah, it's bad for you. Why is it bad for you? We're going to cover a little bit, but yeah, it's bad for you. It's true. It's bad. Absolutely. Yes, it'll contribute to obesity. It will contribute to heart attack. Your heart attack. It will contribute to cardiovascular problems. It will contribute to diabetes, right? Type 2 diabetes. It will make you diabetic over time. Okay? It can contribute to that. Yeah. All that grease and all that processed oil and all that fried oil and all that junk and everything else, and right? All that we dump inside of us, fast foods and processed foods and all that, sure. It's going to bring us closer to obesity. It's going to bring us closer to a heart attack. That's why I always say butter's like the heart attacker. Butter. That's the heart attack bringer, right? But what about the raging illnesses happening and the autoimmune and the fatigue and the chronic fatigue syndrome, the ME/CFS and the fibro and the Hashi? So wait a minute. Fast food gives you Hashis? What gives you Hashimoto's? Is it fast food that gives you Hashimoto's? So this is an important conversation because I know in the health scene, I know for quite a while now, in the last 10 years, all these people, these brainiacs, these geniuses coming up in the health scene feel like they found it all, they figured it all out. It's all that fast food, it's all the processed food. It's going into the fast food restaurants. That's what's killing us all. That's what's doing it. It's all that. So let's go and we'll make some documentary about it. Oh, we'll do this about it. Oh, we'll go and put some books out about it. Without even understanding why anybody gets sick, without even understanding or knowing why or how anyone gets sick. Anyone. Young people get sick, right? How much fast food is someone eating by the time they're 9 years old? Meanwhile, they got thyroid diagnoses at 9 years old. They got crippling fatigue and brain fog at 9 years old. They got crippling eczema and psoriasis at 9 years old. So what is it, the 50 years of fast foods? A 9-year-old's 9 years old. What is it, the 50 years of processed food? That's what got the 9-year-old sick? 50 years. Does that make any sense? 50 years of processed foods and fast foods and greasy fried foods. And that's what made a 9-year-old sick when 9-year-old's only 9 years old? Norma said, study just came out linking MS to EBV. And you've been saying this all along. Published first, medical medium. That's medical medium information. Published first. And then science poaches and steals medical medium information. That's what they do. That's how they learn. Science of chronic illness now, they go to the medical medium books and to the medical medium lectures and all the medical medium work that's been done, and they take the information, they extract it, and they try to advance forward with that in certain areas. But don't worry, they'll just be shut down the road. And when they link that, then there'll be classified medical research and science will stomp on them like they were a turkey in Thanksgiving. It'll just stomp on them. You know, that's the one thing. Even if alternative science or conventional science takes medical medium information about Epstein Barr causing multiple sclerosis, which is medical medium, right? And they take that and they try to now do studies to try to link it, right? Big bad wolf up in the sky, classified medical research and science. We'll jump on them so quick and pounce on them and eat them up. Because they don't want that getting out there. So it's kind of a battle out there in how that works. So what's making the 8-year-old so sick they got thyroid disorders at 8 years old? Is it 50 years of processed foods? No. They're 8 years old. What's making the 5-year-old get raging eczema psoriasis? Is it 60 years of processed food and fast food and greasy food? No. I love it. Documentaries on fast foods and fried greasy foods and processed foods. All these things on that. Everybody thinks they're a genius about it. But I'm scratching my head saying, well, how is the 5-year-old, right? How's the 5-year-old getting eczema psoriasis? I mean, we know, medical medium information knows why. It's copper, it's viruses, plus toxic heavy metals like copper, right? But everybody's like a genius. It's these processed foods. Oh, it's these fried foods, these greasy foods. It's fast foods. That's what's taken down America. SAD, standard American diet. That's what's doing it. You can't package it like that. You can't. You can't just package it like that. I just want to make an announcement before we move on. I'm going to be on Rumble later. I know right now we're live on Rumble, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, we're live on Telegram, we're live on TikTok right now, just so you know. But I'm going to be on Rumble exclusively at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific later on. That's my announcement. I'm also making another announcement as we speak. I'm making some cookies. I'm making the gluten-free banana oat cookies from Cleanse to Heal. By the way, on the Rumble talk later, it'd be an exclusive talk. I'm not going to be talking about anything I'm talking about now, just so you know. Anyway, you guys got a copy of Cleanse to Heal? Check out that recipe right there. Gluten-free banana oat breakfast cookies. I'm making them. You see the bananas all in front of me. You see some oatmeal right there, if you can. Depending on where you are, you guys. Right? So I'm excited. So I'm going to make some recipes, get them in the oven. I got the oven preheating at 350 degrees. Good to see you guys. It's an honor to be here. Truly, I'm happy to be at your service in any way I can, like usual. So, talk about the processed food a little bit. Yes, processed food isn't good. Yes, fried foods, greasy foods is not good. It's bad. True. It'll clog up that liver is what it's going to do. It'll clog up that liver. So let's take a look. The more and more grease you stick in you, and the more and more fried processed oil and grease you stick in you, okay? The more and more your liver has to get overburdened. You kill your liver with that. Well, what that does, that just leads people to the obesity factor. The weight gain comes on because their liver's being bogged down by all that grease and all that processed food, right? And all that fast food, okay? And then once that liver gets beaten down like that, you end up with type 2 diabetes. Now you're pre-diabetic, yes. And then all that fat from those processed foods and fried greasy foods starts to cling to your arteries and your veins and cling to your heart, starts to get into your heart right there, right? In your valves, gets into the veins and arteries, right? And so guess what? Yeah, you end up gaining weight. You end up heart attack city down the road when you're older. You end up diabetes too, diabetic, right? You end up all that. But what about everybody else? What about everybody else? When they're not taking the fried food, they're not taking the fast food, they're not taking really any of that. They're 20 years old, they're on Mattress Island, they're stuck. They're stuck with no explanations. They're told they have autoimmune and it's genetic and that's why they're sick and they're just stuck in bed or stuck on Couch Island or stuck on Mattress Island, right? What about them? Yeah, the fried greasy foods and the processed foods are bad. Yeah, they clog up the liver. They do. They clog up the liver, which is medical medium information. Clogging up the liver part is, my son was on your banana mono diet and his skin and digestion got better. It really works. We are going to do it again. So proud of you. Incredible. That's the mono cleanse in here, and that's the banana version. Amazing. If you guys don't have Cleanse to Heal, make sure you get it. Amazon.com US, $16.99, 51% off. Get it free at the library, right? So we're making a recipe right now. I'm excited. We're talking about processed foods, and we're going to go deeper into it. We got more to cover. Cooked food, actually, some of the minerals are cooked out, and they can cause the body to need some of its minerals to assimilate. My tongue gets dry with cooked foods. So what happens with cooked foods is it's like this, right? You got to realize where you're coming from, okay? You can do like 369 and be all raw. You can do the 369 advanced and do all raw. You can just go that way. You can use that protocol and be all raw. You can do the 28-day cleanse, medical medium new edition, and go all raw, right? You can do that, okay? There's a lot of people, though, they have a difficult time going raw. And going raw doesn't mean you're still going to get better. Like medical medium information, like the 28-day cleanse or the 369 advanced, they're raw, but they're raw designed in a specific way to take somebody to where they need to go, take them to a finish line of healing, right? But you can still heal eating cooked, and you can still heal eating cooked all the way. That's why the banana mono cleanse is a raw cleanse, right? In the medical medium Cleanse to Heal book, but there's also a potato mono cleanse, which is your steaming potatoes. And you're actually able to go all the way too on that level with steamed potatoes. You don't lose minerals with cooked food. What happens is the reason why you feel dried out with cooked food and you feel dried out like that, the reason why you feel that way is because nerves, that's a nerve thing. So your tongue can be dried out, your mouth can feel dried out, you can feel dried out overall when you're doing cooked. Because the nervous system, that means there's a nervous system sensitivity happening. That's what that is. And so cooked food in general can rub a certain way on the tongue, and that's your vagus nerve, all of that, your mouth, your throat. It all depends on what's happening. If you have sensitive vagus nerve issues on any level, even if it's just sensitive digestion, sensitive vagus nerves, whatever, cooked food can feel differently. And it all depends on what the cooked food is, too. Like what the cooked food is. But that's interesting. I mean, I'm glad you're raw and you're doing raw. That's amazing. All raw is not the answer, though. Meaning any just raw is not the answer. So I know we're talking about processed foods and everything else, but it's interesting to talk about this, too, is that there's raw diets out there that are high fat. And a high fat raw diet still can bring you down on your knees sick and not healing, where you're like, oh my God, I'm all raw, I'm doing everything I can, I found this raw diet out there and I'm still sick and I can't get better and I'm still fatigued and I still have skin problems, and what is it? Meanwhile, you're tanking the nut butters and you're tanking all the oils and you're tanking the avocado too much and you're tanking more nut butters then you're doing more oil, then you're doing more avocado, and then you're doing something else. And yeah, you're all raw, and then you're doing the olive oil. Hey, I got this great raw coconut oil, and you're doing all these oils and fats, and then you're just stuck still. It happens to so many people, and then they get stuck. You can heal doing cooked food. You can try that protocol and heal doing cooked food. You can heal doing raw food. As long as you know what you're doing, though. It all matters. The details matter. You can't just be raw, and that's the answer. I thought oats were inflammatory. Oats are not a food that's like a healing food. But oats are not a hurting food. So they're not a hurting food. Oats don't feed viruses. See, that's important to know. So oats don't feed viruses, and viruses are inflammatory. So that's important to know right there. Oats and millet are two grains right there that medical medium information says you can eat. But it doesn't mean you have to if you don't want to do oats. Like in the protocols in the book, there's so many different avenues. Like there's no mono oatmeal diet in the medical medium book for a reason, right? And oats aren't in the 3-6-9 cleanse, right? Meaning like the advanced cleanse. But oats are kind of like a filler. Do they have nutrition in them? Yeah, they have nutrients in them, okay? But the key thing about oats, all right, is oats don't feed viruses. Viruses are why everybody's inflamed, right? And oats don't feed the viruses, so that gets them inflamed. It's important to know. They're not an inflammatory food, so they're not an inflammation-producing food. But gluten is, make sure gluten-free oats. That's important to know there too. So let's start making this, and we'll get them in the oven, and we'll talk more about what's happening. It's good to see you guys. It's an honor to be here. So what I'm going to do is mash up 2 bananas. It's the first thing I'm going to do. Let's throw a couple of bananas in here. And let's do that, a couple of bananas. Every time somebody gets an epiphany, right, in the healing movement, say a doctor or something, they want to start a podcast, they want to write a book, they want to start teaching, they want to start lecturing about health foods or healthy living and all that. They get this epiphany where they want to lose some weight. They want to do better things for others. They're in conventional medicine. They want to back down off of conventional medicine a little bit. And they want to head to a place of like an awakening happens. Wow, fast food and greasy foods and fried foods and processed foods. That's the problem all this time. That's what it is. Or it's the lectins and oxalates in all these foods. Or it's bad foods like fast foods and some other food issues too. But they get wrapped up into this whole thing. Like, I found the answer. I got the light bulb. I got the answer. Everybody's sick because they're eating bad. Do you see how it goes, you guys? Anybody jumping into the health scene, green, jumps in like, oh my God, I figured it out. All these years of just doing my normal stuff, going into medical school and out of medical school, eating what I wanted, drinking alcohol on the weekends. All these years I figured it out because I'm starting to gain a little weight around my waist. And as a doctor, I started figuring it out. You can't have processed foods. All those people are bad at the fast food restaurant line. You guys are all eating fast foods. That's the whole thing. And they have this epiphany, this awakening, like, oh, they discovered everything. They discovered it. Then they start telling their patients, shouldn't be eating fast foods. And then they want to write a book. Let's write a book and make sure we talk about how all these greasy foods are killing Americans or killing Europeans or killing whoever around the world, right? And they think I'm mashing 2 bananas in here because I'm making these oatmeal cookies right now. And then they think they discovered the Holy Grail. They actually discovered Atlantis. The lost city of Atlantis. They discovered it. They figured it out after all these years. Everybody's sick because they're just eating all this junk food and fast food and processed food. That's why everybody's sick. We just figured it out. Right? And I'm going to put some cinnamon in here too. Okay? A little bit of cinnamon in this. I'm going to put a little bit of maple syrup in here too, if you guys don't mind. Robin says, what's the difference between gluten-free oats, regular ones? What makes oats gluten-free? Processing is the big one, okay? So processing is a really big one, the processing, right? The facility. I'm going to put a little maple syrup in here. Facilities that are also churning out wheat germ. They're churning wheat germ out. They're churning, what else are they churning out? Wheat germ, bagels, bagels, loaves of bread, loaves of processed bread, white bread, right? They're churning all this out. And then all of a sudden they're going to run some oats through the machine. Whoop, we ran oats through the machine after we just ran all those breadcrumbs, those white breadcrumbs through the machine. And now we're packaging up oats. Oh, them oats aren't gluten-free, right? Christina says, won't oatmeal, bananas, and maple syrup spike your insulin a lot? Well, that's what people believe. So let's go into that. You just set the pace for a good diabetic talk for a couple of seconds, including hypoglycemia and other issues like that, blood sugar issues. Let's just throw some raisins in here. I'm going to be spiking my blood sugar. I'm going to be spiking my blood sugar really bad right here. This is going to throw me into major diabetic like coma or something. I'm going to put a few raisins in here. That should be good. I'm going to put some. So let's go into that. Sugar doesn't create insulin resistance. Sugar, carbohydrates, does not create insulin resistance. It's fat. So I'm looking for the fat here. Where's the fat? Where is it? Fat, are you in there? Where are you? Where's the oils? Where's all the oils? Where's the fat? Where's the olive oil? Where's the coconut oil? Where's the nut butter? Where's the nuts? Where are you guys? How come you're not here? Are you guys in here? Where are you? Huh? Hey, wait. I can't find you. So all I'm seeing is oats, raisins, bananas, and cinnamon and maple syrup. I'm not seeing any fats. This can't spike your insulin. This can't jack up your A1C. This doesn't create diabetes. Okay? Very important to know. What this does is this helps to fix those problems. Because guess what's missing out of here? There's no oils, there's no nut butters, there's no fats, there's no grease, there's no lard, there's no Crisco, there's no nothing in here. Very important to know. Okay, so I'm going to go with a couple of cups. Let's see, a couple cups of oats here. Do a little measurement. So 1 cup there. Go with another cup, roughly. I think that might be good. Let's see what we got. All right. This is important to know right here, okay, you guys? Critical point. When you eat fat, which I call radical fats, right? When you eat the nut butter, I'm not saying nut butters are bad for you. I'm not saying avocado's bad for you. I'm not saying healthy fats are bad for you. I'm just saying that when you have fat, even when it's chicken or meat or nut butters or oils or anything like that, when you eat the fat, it stops sugar from entering your cells. It holds up the insulin. The insulin just gets all caught up in the bloodstream. It can't get sugar into your cells. It's the fat that's doing it. It's not the sugar. This is a really important time for some of you guys that have been brainwashed about the whole sugar thing and the whole diabetic thing and the whole hypoglycemic thing. and the whole hyperglycemic thing. Sorry, you just need to know this is like an awakening moment right here. Because, wait a minute, it's not the sugar? What are you saying? Like, what are you even talking about? It's not the sugar. No, it's not. It's not the sugar at all. I'm going to add a little bit more oatmeal to this. Ice cream jacks up that blood sugar. Ice cream's the A1C nightmare. Ice cream is the diabetic nightmare. I don't care if it's coconut ice cream. I don't care if it's vegan ice cream. I don't care if it's Planet Mars ice cream. I don't care if an alien ship arrived from Pluto and dropped off a new batch of ice cream for everybody. That ice cream is sugar and fat combined. And when that ice cream is sugar and fat combined, you got the diabetic nightmare, you got the blood sugar nightmare, you got the insulin resistance nightmare. And that's why everybody on the processed foods eventually gets the A1C and the diabetic nightmare and everything else. That's why the processed food thing, the fast food, the greasy fried food. That's why I was trying to tell you guys, all the genius doctors or genius health professionals or genius health influencers, when they get that epiphany and awakening and they're like, I'm not supposed to eat processed food anymore? Oh, dear Lord, I think I found the answer. Everybody, it's processed food. Now I'm going to go hit the circuit because I'm a genius. Now I'll come out with my new book. Here's why you shouldn't eat fast foods and processed foods and junk foods. And what happens is because... yeah, you eat that stuff, you're going to end up a diabetic. You eat that stuff, you're going to eventually have some weight gain. You eat that stuff and you're going to get a heart attack. But that's not why everybody is sick. It's not why everybody's sick, you guys. RA, Hashimoto's, neurological Lyme. Since when has neurological Lyme in a 12-year-old, yes, a 12-year-old neurological Lyme disease have anything to do with eating 50 years of junk food and processed food and fast food? It doesn't have anything to do with it. Do you see how it goes? That's why this talk is important today. All right, so I have these cookies ready. I'm going to start making them. Let's do this. I'm going to move some of these bananas over. Right? So... I'm going to make some of these cookies. I'm going to put them like this. Now you can flatten them out a little bit more if you want. You can make them a little bigger if you want. You can make them smaller. I was in the mood for some cookies today, you know. I was like, you know what? How about if I make some cookies today? This is really a great thing to help you guys with because I know so many people. This is a treat, you know. This is a treat. I know so many people are just they're slaves to the junk food, the healthy junk food out there. And that's not what this is. This isn't junk food, right? But they're trapped because all of a sudden they'll give in to something and they'll just be like, okay, I just fell off the wagon right now. I just did it. I'm off the wagon again. Let me just have these cookies here. Here's the problem. There's all this fat that's in all the treats out there. All that fat and all the treats is how people are going to get in trouble. One way or another, they're going to get in trouble. And that's important to know. So I already have 6 cookies on the tray, if you guys can see. Let's put some more cookies in here. I might be able to get 9 cookies right here. Right? If you guys just got on here, I'm going to be exclusively live on Rumble at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. I hope you guys join me. It's not going to be about this topic about processed foods, fast foods, greasy foods, fried foods. Might have some zingers. You never know. Okay, I think we did it. I think we're going to do 9 good-sized cookies here is what we're going to do. I'm just going to add a little bit of this extra cookie mix to some of these cookies. But not go too big, because you go too big, then we're going to be in trouble. I think I made 2 really big cookies. Let's pop this in the oven. So I'm just showing you guys the before. Telegram, what do you guys think? You guys subscribe to Telegram on there. I do private audio messages with everybody. You guys, I'm popping this in the oven. Let's get them cooking. So I got some cookies in there. Exclusive on Telegram. So exclusively I do these audio messages on Telegram. So it's just really cool. It's really great. Been doing that. And then on Rumble, subscribe to Rumble, because Rumble is a great place for medical medium information. I'm doing some cool stuff on there. Doing exclusive lives on Rumble. So I'll be there 6 o'clock Eastern, later 3 o'clock Pacific time. So we got the cookies we're working on. I'm hoping they look like this. I can't wait to eat them. I'm really excited. So when someone has ALS, right, is it because of processed foods? Then how come somebody else who had processed foods all these years didn't get ALS? Just curious. If someone has Alzheimer's, dementia, right? Is it because of the fast foods and the greasy foods and the fried foods they had all these years? What about the other person who didn't get Alzheimer's, dementia? And they've been eating the fast foods, processed foods, and greasy foods all these years. What about that? What about the person, right, who has crippling depression, suicidal thoughts, they don't want to be here anymore, they're suffering in agony, and they've been eating processed foods and fast foods and greasy foods? But what about the other person who's been eating fast food, processed foods, greasy foods, but they don't have the crippling depression on a level where they're in that condition? So, when this whole epiphany happens to like a health professional, where they wake up one morning and they're like, whoa, it's the processed foods doing it. Someone said, which book are the cookies from? I just want to answer that. It's Cleanse the Heal. Suzanne, Cleanse the Heal. Amazon.com US, 51% off. It costs more to print it. It's a medical textbook. Get it free at the library. You can get it free at the library. Don't even have to do it. Like, honestly, if everybody just went to the library and got it for free, I would be happy, because I want people to have the book. So when we have this whole thing happen in the world of health, and I've watched it for years. I've watched these awakenings happen in health professionals for years, where they think they have now all the answers. So they start there. But it's way more complicated than that. It's way more in depth than that. It's way more important to know what's really happening. There's so much more people don't know. So why do we get that crippling depression? We get it because of toxic heavy metals in the brain. Why do we get that crippling ALS? Because we get toxic heavy metals in the brain plus viruses. Why do we get multiple sclerosis? Because of Epstein-Barr virus. Also, people with multiple sclerosis are high in mercury and Epstein-Barr, right? We get these other problems because of these reasons. And yes, fast foods, processed foods, and junk foods are not helpful on any level, but it's not solely the problem. And let's go into that a little bit. Why can someone eat all that junk for years and then they get their heart attack when they're 50 or 55? They get their heart attack when they're 60. But then someone else, right? Someone else got sick with something else. What's going on there, right? When someone didn't get sick with something else and they had this heart attack later on. Like, how does that happen? So let's cut into it and let's go into it. Right now, what you're going to see is neurological problems on the rise more than ever before in history. It already is and has been. I've been talking about this for 35 years, but we're at a place where neurological problems are going to dominate in such a way that no one can even imagine. So it's not just depression, anxiety, and OCD, and all the mental health, right? complications that people suffer from, but it's going to be the fatigue, the muscle weakness, the dizziness more than ever before, the vertigo, the balance issues, right? The tinnitus, the burning skin, the jabbing jaw pain, the neck pain, the back pain, unexplainable back pain, feet pain, right? Sleeping problems, insomnia, restless leg syndrome. It's going to be all this times a million. It's just going to be all this times 10 million. All this times a billion is what it's going to be. And it's not because of a processed food. So what do we have to look out for or worry about? It's viruses and bacteria, toxic heavy metals, poisons, right? So I saw the other day, right, a friend of mine showed me something. He said, look, this really smart doctor guy who writes a book said, it's radiation in the airports we got to look out for. I go, well, that's medical medium information. I'm the only one that talked about all the radiation in the airports for years and years and years. So, okay, great. And he's saying that's the problem. I'm like, that's not the problem. That's a contributor. That's a trigger, but that's not the problem. It's amazing how we can just, it's what we attach ourselves to, right? It's what our psyche kind of gravitates to. It's like if someone's like totally gets jazzed up on, whoa, it's the processed food, whoa, it's that, then that's got to be the answer. It's the fast food. Then that's what they're all into, right? Or, whoa, you're right, there's radiation in the airport. That's what it's got to be. It's the radiation in the airport. And they get attached to that. They're like, whoa, that's it. But it's just more than this. You can take someone who gets radiated. They breathe in all these fragrances and candles and colognes and perfumes. They get exposed to pesticides, insecticides, right? And they still stay okay for a while. They still stay okay for a while. And then you get somebody else that breathes in a little bit of pesticide, breathes in some scented candles, breathes in a little bit of mold somewhere, and they go down. Because you have to have the pathogens internally. You have to have the pathogens internally. They have to be there. And that's why people got the Hashimoto's and the hyperthyroidism, and they got the cysts and nodules on the thyroid. And that's why they got the fatigue, and that's why they got the CFS. And that's why they have the skin disorders and the eczema and the psoriasis. You have to have the pathogens somewhere. That's advanced information. You have to have the viruses, the Epstein Barrs, the HSV1, HSV2. You got to have the shingles. You got to have the HHV6, cytomegalovirus. You have to have the pathogens and viruses is what you need. Can Be Hard said, sounds like Lyme and Bartonella. Bartonella is not a Lyme problem. Bartonella is what you've been told a long time ago is a cause of Lyme. It's not. Neurological Lyme is viral. So that's the viruses. And maybe that's what you were leading to. That's what you're alluding to with that. Right? Bartonella is not a superbug. Bartonella doesn't create neurological symptoms. Right? Bartonella is a bacteria that doesn't create neurological symptoms. Very important to know. I talk about that in the books. Like if you go into the Lyme section of Cleanse to Heal, you'll see that. So neurological problems are caused by neurotoxins produced by viruses, and that's how it's done. Bartonella is not as strong as MRSA, but people can kick MRSA, right? MRSA is a superbug created by classified medical research and science, deliberately put into hospitals, just so you know. MRSA is a superbug, and they can still kill MRSA off. People have a better recovery rate with MRSA than Bartonella. So you got all these people with neurological Lyme suffering, and they can't get rid of this Bartonella. Bartonella dies instantly with penicillin. With penicillin. I'm not talking about all these other design-crafted antibiotics that they have to use for superbugs. Bartonella dies with penicillin, never mind doxy or anything else. And Bartonella is not the cause of Lyme. So that's important to know. The cause of Lyme disease is something that creates neurological symptoms. Bacteria doesn't create neurological symptoms. Lisa says Bartonella is a virus and MRSA is a bacteria. Well, for 25 years, they've been saying Bartonella is a bacteria, so maybe they flipped it because they don't know what is what anymore. So, but Bartonella is bacteria, Borrelia is bacteria, Babesia is a hybrid and bacteria, and MERS is a bacteria. I don't know what else to tell you. And those bacteria aren't why people are sick with neurological Lyme or Lyme disease. That's why they've been antibiotic to death for years and decades and decades. People lost their lives from antibiotics because they were told it was Bartonella. People's lives were destroyed and ruined because of that. If you want to have some compassion for people out there that lost their lives from being antibiotic to death for Bartonella and Babesia and Borrelia, then that's one place to go, because that's where I go all the time, because I feel horrible for people who lost their lives from that. I can't tell you how many people walk through the door in my office and how many Lyme doctors called me up at my office throughout the last 35 years, and they learned the truth about what caused neurological Lyme, and they're like, so what do we do? I said, well, you need your lysine. You have to have your zinc. You have to have your antivirals. You have to have your licorice root. And all of a sudden, the neurological Lyme, and you have to have your cat's claw. And all of a sudden, the neurological Lyme patients were all getting better at these doctors' offices. And they're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable, because we've been doing the antibiotic thing with our patients over and over and over again, because we keep on thinking they have Borrelia and Bartonella. They don't. And if you want to learn more about that, just so you know, they never see Bartonella and they never see Borrelia. If you read about Lyme disease, you'll learn how the Lyme labs work. They don't see Bartonella. So here you are, you'll be like, and listen, this is no disrespect. I have a lot of respect for you for being here talking about this. This is a great topic. What people don't realize is, at the Lyme lab, they never see Bartonella. They don't see it. Did you know that? They don't see it under a microscope. Nor do they see Borrelia. When you get your blood sent to the lab, they just test for an inflammatory marker and they plug in the name. They put the name in. It's the biggest scam ever in our history. Probably one of the biggest scams in our history. Pretty incredible, really. Check in the cookies, you guys. Cookies aren't done yet. When you get your blood tested at a Lyme lab, they're just doing an inflammatory test. It's kind of like an ANA. It's a C-reactive protein. Okay? Very important to know. So, and that's the trick of the trade. So the Lyme disease labs never see your Bartonella, your Borrelia, your Babesia. They never see any of that. That's what's sad about it. It's been a scam running for a long time, and a lot of people lost their lives over it now. But you know what's funny and amazing now? There's Lyme doctors now using medical meeting protocols, right? But they're plugging in the cat's claw, they're lowering the antibiotics, and they're getting people some results. First time in history, because they're using medical meeting protocols. I taught about this for years. I talked to dozens and dozens of Lyme doctors all through the East Coast, all through the country. And I got the Lyme doctors to test for Epstein-Barr. And what the Lyme doctors were doing, they were like, oh my God, this patient has Epstein-Barr. Anthony William was right. I think we're onto something. Eureka. We're onto something. Why do you think they talk about anybody with Lyme disease now that goes like public with it, that might be like a big public figure or a celebrity, and they talk about their Lyme disease? Why do you think they say, I have Lyme disease and Epstein-Barr? That's kind of funny. What you really have is Epstein-Barr. And that's what's causing your neurological symptoms. And what are those neurological symptoms? Tingles and numbness, fatigue, brain fog, don't feel good. Yeah, that's your EBV. That's your EBV. Antibiotics ruined my gut. Kristen, I feel for you, truly. I've seen antibiotics kill people for years and years and years with Lyme disease. They get so weak, and here's the thing too, okay? They get so weak, and the sicker they get, they take more blood. The sicker they get, they take more blood. And that's how a Lyme disease patient dies. They die from getting blood tests faster and more vials, and faster and more vials, and more in between and more in between, meaning 1 week apart, 1 week apart, 1 week apart, 2 weeks apart, 1 week apart. Let's take 27 more vials. Let's take 30 vials. Let's take 40 vials. Let's take 50 vials, right? And that's what they do. So they're just taking blood. Let's give you more antibiotics. Oh, you don't feel good? Well, it's not the antibiotic that's making you not feel good. Something else is wrong. We're going to keep on taking more blood from you. This is how tens of thousands of Lyme patients died in the last 40 years. It's from all the blood taken and the game, the chase for phantom bacteria, when really they were viral. If they had less blood drawn and they had a viral protocol like in Cleanse to Heal, they would still be here now. And thank God enough people got to me in my office throughout the years and enough doctors talked to me to save enough people with neurological Lyme. And that's why you see the world of Lyme disease changed right now, because of medical medium work. That's why you see cat's claw in the protocols. That's why you see them lower the antibiotics. It's important to know. I'm going to check out these cookies. Hold on, you guys. They're getting there. So, I just want to let everybody know that on Rumble, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific, I'm going to be exclusive there, talking about something different, a different topic. We're not going to be talking about Lyme disease. We're not going to be talking about processed foods, but this is good stuff we're talking about now. I'm excited. So, let's go a little bit longer. Have some more fun. Where can we get tested for EBV? With a family physician. You just ask your doctor for an Epstein-Barr test. That's a great way to start. So Nadine, that's what you can do. You can actually start that way. You can just ask for it. That's what you can do. Family physician should be able to write that one up. They can write that prescription for that blood test up. Okay. Have them test for past and present infection. So keep that in mind. Past and present infection. Past infection means you still have Epstein-Barr. So that'll give you the answer right there. So test for past and present infection. That's important right there. When Medical Medium Book 1, which is the new edition now, when that hit the scene, it broke the news about what Epstein-Barr caused. It causes all these neurological symptoms. It's not the fast foods. It's not the processed foods and the junk foods. What about having Lyme and MS? Well, if you read in the Cleanse to Heal books, you'll see that multiple sclerosis is caused by Epstein-Barr and mercury. And you'll see that neurological Lyme is also viral too, which is Epstein-Barr. A lot of people have one or two varieties of Epstein-Barr. They'll have a shingles virus too. And they'll be high in mercury as well. Mercury is hard to test for it because with mercury, it doesn't mean it's in your bloodstream. It's in the organs. It could be all in the organs, so you can't get a good, accurate test through the blood because of that. When it's sitting inside organs, it's hard to actually get a test. So basically, it's like this. If someone didn't have a pathogen, they can eat all the fast food they want, all the junk food they want, all the processed food they want until they get their heart attack or their diabetes or their hypertension into a heart attack. Important to know. If someone doesn't, or a stroke, if someone doesn't have the viruses in them, they can spend a lifetime of processed junk food. They can be pulling up to the fast food restaurant every day. Give me a double bacon cheeseburger, please. I'll take another pizza. Give me a bacon double cheese dog. Give me a bunch of onion rings. Give me some fries with bacon bits on top. Bacon. Give me more bacon. And they can do that for year after year after year until they drop dead. Until that artery gets clogged. Until they have the heart attack and that diabetes comes on. Until they have that stroke from a big hunk of fat getting dislodged and floating up to the brain. The point is, if you don't have the pathogens, you can eat all you want. Bring it on. Bring it in. And you can do it until you die of a heart disease issue or something else. If you don't have the pathogens. When you have the pathogens, the game changes. It completely changes, you guys. That's when you get the hypothyroid. That's when you get the hyperthyroid. That's when you get the cancers. That's when you get the ALS. That's when you get the MS. That's when you get the RA. That's when you get the lupus. That's when you get the neurological Lyme. That's why a 12-year-old can have neurological Lyme. That's why a 12-year-old can have RA. And fatigue. Think about that. Children's rheumatoid arthritis. They didn't have 30 years of fast food, but they have RA at 11 years old, 9 years old, 14 years old. They have debilitating RA, and they don't have 50 years of junk food in them. They have, other things going on, right? And they have colitis, right? They can have debilitating colitis, they can have leukemia, they can have other things. They can be suffering with other disorders. They can have eczema that's raging and debilitating, psoriasis. But they don't have 30 years of pulling up to that fast food restaurant and ordering all those bacon double cheese dogs and burgers and all those pizza fries or whatever the heck they're giving out there and all those buffalo chicken wings. They don't have that in their system. That's for the person who's not quite viral, who's not quite pathogenic, who maybe isn't pathogenic yet. They don't have enough bugs in them yet. And they can go, and now they're 40, and now they're gaining weight, yes. And they're gaining weight, and now they're heading to a place because of the processed foods and all the pizzas they're eating and everything else they're eating and the buffalo chicken wings and everything else. Now they're getting to the point where, boom, they can have their heart attack, they can have their stroke, they can have their fat clogging up their arteries in their heart and everything else. And guess what? If they get a pathogen, they'll have that too. You'll have lupus and heart disease. You'll have multiple sclerosis and heart disease. This is important to know right here. You'll have neurological Lyme and heart disease. You'll have RA and heart disease. You'll have autoimmune and heart disease, right? If you have pathogens and you're taking the fast processed foods and the greasy foods, you can have your diabetes, heart problems, and your neurological symptoms from all the pathogens. Do you see? The details matter. And that's why medicine is so off right now. They can't even differentiate. They can't even figure it out and be able to divide any of that. They don't know any of the difference. They're just like, okay, well, you have autoimmune, it's genetic. Okay, what else do you have? Oh, you have heart disease. Okay, maybe you should back down on the processed foods. That's pretty much it. But they don't know that, whoa, you got HHV6, you got shingles, you got Epstein Barr, you got cytomegalovirus, you got simplex 1, the fever blister, and it's causing all your jaw pain and your neck pain and your head pain and your eye problems and your eye pain. And they don't know that these things are causing reproductive problems too. You can have endometriosis and still get heart disease down the road. You could have PCOS from viruses and still get your heart attack later on too. You could have a combination. But all the people with big ideas in the health movement, they think they figured it all out and found the Holy Grail, and they figured they found it all out. The big mystery. They found Atlantis. They think it was just, you're just eating all the wrong foods. And once you clean up your diet, you're going to be all good. That's not true. Sometimes you got to dig deep and you got to go for the gold, because if you got enough pathogens in you, you could be very young and you can clean up your diet and it's not enough. You can clean up your diet as far as you want to go, as far as the parameters they give you out there, and it's not enough. And then you have to learn what you're really doing and looking out for within that diet to get better. That's why I see it all the time. The vegans and the plant-based people, they go plant-based and vegan, they stay sick or they get sick, and then they run back to animal protein thinking they're missing nutrients. I just saw it recently. Someone was showing me something, and it was like, they're saying, check this out. Check out this influencer here. They went vegan one time and plant-based, and now they're talking about how they were missing all their nutrients. They went vegan and plant-based, and they were missing all their nutrients right now. So now they're back on animal protein to make sure they get all their nutrients. They're eating cottage cheese, and they're having lots of yogurt and bovine yogurt and cottage cheese, and they're having like raw cheese, and they're having eggs, and they're having salmon, and they're having other fish. And now they're getting all the nutrients they need, because when they were vegan and plant-based, this influencer was vegan and plant-based, they weren't doing good. It's like, whoa, well, I'm gonna feel really bad for that person because they're gonna do real bad now. Meanwhile, there's all these people eating animal protein, eating all the same thing, and they're sick out there. I love how that works. It doesn't make any sense, right? Billions of people are eating animal protein, and a fraction of people they're plant-based, right? Fraction of people, and think about how many people are sick. Hospitals are filled with people eating animal protein, including clean animal protein diets, including healthier animal protein diets, right? Meanwhile, they'll have the same problems they'll have the same problem as the plant-based people, right? That are sick too. That happens. Plant-based vegan person can be just as sick as an animal protein person. They can have both the same sicknesses, Hashimoto's. They can have thyroid problems. They can get told by their doctors their hormones are off. They can have all the same problems everybody's worried about. They can have fatigue. Animal protein person can have lots of fatigue, and a plant-based person can have lots of fatigue. Okay? I'm waiting for the cookies to kind of get nice and toasty in here, and they're just about done. I guess another couple minutes. We're almost there. We get lost and we run back and forth. You can still heal eating animal protein, and you can still heal being plant-based, okay? You can still heal being plant-based, right? Anybody who's plant-based or vegan, I recommend staying plant-based but learning how to do it. And anybody who wants to be animal protein, you know what? You can heal too. Just got to learn how to do it. Another thing too, you could be on a plant-based vegan diet and eat a lot of junk food. Definitely could eat a lot of junk food. You could do a vegan cheese. That vegan cheese is rough on the system if you're trying to heal. It's really hard on the system if you're trying to heal. It's just as bad as the regular cheese in so many ways. So keep that in mind. Right? Michelle L. says if you take the wrong B12, it won't absorb. And it's true. The details matter. Everything matters. You can be a plant-based vegan person and thinking you're missing B12 somehow and take the wrong B12 and not get better. The right B12 matters. You guys know I use the Vimergy B12. That's the one I use and recommend, and I'm not sponsored. But the stuff is the best. So Vimergy.com if you want the best B12. Since Michelle was talking about it. So I think what happens is the minute you get sick, somebody gets sick and they're a newbie and they're not seasoned, all they need is to hear a doctor or somebody say, hey, get off your bad foods, meaning get off the junk foods and the processed foods, and then everybody thinks they got it all sewed up. But that's not reality. Reality is it's so much deeper than that. The reason why we're sick is so much deeper than that. And the details matter to how we can heal and recover, right? If someone's dealing with low iron, they're having a low iron issue, that's viral because Epstein Barr eats iron. I talked about this for years. So that means there's a low-grade viral infection. Low-grade viral infection. You'll hear that now. People say low-grade out there, low-grade viral out there, low-grade viral. Medical meme information for 35 years is low-grade viral infection. You can read Medical Meme Book 1 and you'll see it all through there, low-grade viral infection. But the low-grade viral infection is the reason why people have low iron, because of a low-grade viral infection. So they have low iron. The more toxic heavy metal in them and the low-grade viral infection, the lower the iron goes. Because Epstein-Barr feeds off of iron. That's how it works. So unless you get rid of the Epstein-Barr and work on getting rid of the Epstein-Barr and breaking it down and getting it out and cleaning it up, that's the key, is cleaning that EBV up and getting it out, your iron can come back up and come back up. I'm going to get these cookies out, you guys. Let's take a look at this cookie deal here, see what we got. We got some cookies. Make sure they don't slip off here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this right on here. Like that. I was going to move Piggy, but I didn't. These are really hot right now, just so you know. Don't grab your cookies. Okay, I'm just moving them around a little bit. Don't grab your cookies when they come straight out of the oven like this. You guys on Telegram, can you see this at all? I don't know if you guys can actually see that on Telegram up there. TikTok, you guys see that, right? Rumble, you guys see that? So these are them. They're toasty brown on top. I'll show you a cookie. Show you a couple of cookies, you guys. Telegram, you see that? Goes on YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, Facebook. Now, what's incredible about these cookies, I'm just going to tell you right now, is there's no oil on these cookies. That's where we get in trouble. It's the oil in everything. It's the fat in everything. That's where you get in trouble. So you're allowed to eat a cookie when the oil's not all drenched inside of it, in and out of it, because that's when we get in trouble. It's all the fats. So keep that in mind. So these aren't insulin resistant creators. These are diabetic busters. You know, this is the kind of food, the kind of meal is a fat-free meal, which gets rid of diabetes in people. That's how we get rid of diabetes in people. That's how we get rid of type 2 diabetes, is you lower the fats. When you lower the fats and you have meals that aren't drenched in fat, then you can get rid of the type 2 diabetes, right? Okay. If you're really sick, if you're dealing with some kind of intestinal disorder, if you're dealing with some kind of digestive problem, read the book and see what's in here, okay? Maybe oatmeal is not, going to be something that you want if you read the book and learn, okay? This is just a treat. This is a great treat for people. So it's a healthy one. I'm going to bite into a cookie in a second too. Looks delicious, right, Rafi? You guys, I'm heading over to Rumble at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. I'm going to do an exclusive live. I'm going to talk about a different topic. I hope you guys all come on in there. Make sure you subscribe on there too. Meet me over there later. That would be awesome. So we'll be on Rumble later on. But in a little while, I'm going to turn on Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. We're going to make cookies again. We'll talk about some other stuff. Maybe some other questions will come up. All right, so I'll see you guys soon. Looking forward to it.